Oh, yes.
Lee,
I'll
yes.
just start it. Thank you, Deborah. To those that aren't aware, Deborah's our Global Executive Director, and Joe's going to do our technical follow-up, which he does support us all the time very well on these events, and Hannah also is there for us. So my name's Leah Wood-Brown, and I'm the moderator for this evening. I'd like to thank Deborah for her housekeeping and the behind the scenes with Joe and Hannah before we start. And I'd like to introduce our International President, Suyong Nanalingam, to give us a welcome and opening. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Hi, everyone. My warmest greetings and welcome all of you for joining us, and thank you so much. And as somebody who believes in the power of women around the world, standing together, sharing knowledge and taking action as one, I welcome all of you. Though we come from different corners of the globe, our heart beat to the same rhythm, a call to protect the earth. This is the heart of my biennial theme, Save Mother Earth, Save the Future. Water is the foundation of all life. It nourishes our bodies, sustains our communities, powers our economies, and connects every living thing on earth. Yet today, water security remains the globe's single largest challenge, as aptly stated by the Water Innovation Lab. As this year's theme for World Environment Day is Ending Plastic Pollution, I would just like to quote the ASEAN Declaration on Plastic Circularity in 2023. Solving plastic pollution, including the marine environment, requires a full life cycle approach, including curbing plastic waste generation at its sources on land and water, and preventing its leaking into the environment, including through industries. This World Environment Day webinar is co-hosted by Soroptimist International and our valued partners at Women for Water Partnerships. It is about shining a light on the critical and too often invisible role women play in water and sanitation. It is about recognizing how deeply water access impacts education, which is SDG 4, gender equality, SDG 5, clean water and sanitation, SDG 6, climate change, SDG 13. And it's about learning from the powerful stories and solutions rising from grassroots projects led by women. Before we begin, I warmly welcome and thank our moderator and SI Director of Advocacy, Lee Wood-Brown, along with our distinguished speakers. May I introduce them? Diana Iskreva. If I said your name wrongly, I do apologize. President of Women for Water Partnership. Sandra Hans, founder and CEO of iGreen Media Group, a member of SI Novato. Dr. Ngozi Loretta, pharmaceutical chemist and passionate environmentalist. Lydia Burnett-Jones, who leads behavior change for impact water across Kenya, Nigeria, and Uganda. And Dawn Fleming, who drives solution. We are also joined by the SI committed Soroptimist International leaders who are committed to this mission. We have SI Africa President Mary Moy, SI Abokong. I'm confident that each of them will share unique insights on the vital role women play in shaping water solutions. And I'm truly grateful for their presence today. I would now like to pass the baton back to moderator Lee Wood-Brown.
Thank you, President Suyong. I'd like to call immediately, and I won't be spending that much time in between, but call on Diana, the President of Women for Water Partnership. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Miss President, for this very passionate opening of the event. So I'm proud and humble to present here the work of water and women of Women for Water Partnership. May I have the next slide, please? Women for Water Partnership is a unique organization of 27 women's organizations and networks. It includes also Soroptimist International, Africa Federation, Soroptimist International Europe, and Soroptimist International Global. And we are always working on women and treating them as leaders in the change in the sector of water. All member organizations are rooted in society and actively in the areas of water, sanitation, but also in sustainable development and women participation. Women for Water Partnership positions women as active leaders, as partners, experts, and agents of change in the water sector. Women for Water Partnership links day-to-day practice to policy at national and international levels and vice versa, and distributes to implementation of sustainable development goals, especially goal 5, which is for gender, and goal 6, which is for water, with a focus on women and universal access of water for all uses. May I have next slide, please? Women for Water Partnership was established in 2004, and since then it persistently mobilizes and supports women, civil society leaders, water professionals, and enthusiasts to work locally, nationally, regionally, and globally on the implementation of Millennium Development Goals, which was goal number 7 and goal number 3. Since 2015, we continue in the same direction with the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals. This time, this is goal number 6, which is clean water and sanitation, and goal number 5, which is achieving gender equity and empowerment of all women and girls. May I have next, please? Water and women, there are some rules of the thumb that everybody of us knows, but I would use now the opportunity to repeat this. The human right to safe water and sanitation is recognized as a fundamental human right, and access to safe water and sanitation is essential to human well-being and dignity. Women are often disproportionately affected by the burden of water scarcity, water contamination, and the responsibility for household water supply and sanitation, especially in traditional societies, especially among less advantaged groups and in rural and remote areas. Globally, women and girls spend an estimated 200 million hours daily collecting water, thus limiting their ability to participate efficiently in education, paid jobs, and other productive activities, impacting their overall well-being and social involvement. Adequate hydration is critical for women's health, and they may have different water needs than men, especially during pregnancy, breastfeeding, and menstruation beyond personal health. Despite having accumulated significant knowledge about water sources, including their location, quality, and storage methods, women are often excluded from water governance and decision-making processes, thus hindering the development of effective and equitable water management strategies. Next slide, please. The water, we have a very unique chance in 2026, which will be the year focused on water and women. The water world acknowledge the crucial role of Women for Water Partnership in raising the interconnection of wise water management and women's empowerment and well-being persistently since 2013, first in the context of the Dushanbe water process. Though UN has not declared 2026 officially as an International Year of Water and Women, there are several unique milestones that are very, very important for the niche of women and water. This is the UN conference in 2026, World Water Day 2026, and World Water Development Report in 2026. May I have the next slide, please? I'm going to give you a little bit more information about the specific milestones. So this is the UN Water Conference that will happen in the United Arab Emirates on the in the period of 2nd, 4th of December 2026. The goal of the conference is to accelerate the implementation of Sustainable Development Goal, ensuring availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. The conference shall contribute to the mainstreaming of gender perspective in ensuring safe drinking water and sanitation for all, including through the empowerment of women and girls. This conference will feature a special dialogue focusing on water for life for all, achieving women's and girls' rights and empowerment throughout their life course. This theme centers on the needs of women and girls throughout their lives, aiming to enhance inclusively and effectiveness of water-related policies and programs. I have the next slide, please. The next milestone is the World Water Day. World Water Day was introduced in 1993, and since then, always on the 22nd of March, it is celebrated globally. It is an annual event, and the importance is that it focuses on the importance of fresh water. World Water Day celebrates water and raises awareness of the fact that 2.2 billion people globally live without access to safe water. The core focus of World Water Day is the support for the achieving of the Sustainable Development Goal 6. This year, which is, 2026 year, the World Water Day will concentrate on the water and sanitation's role in gender equality. May I have the next slide, please? And the third very important milestone, this is the World Water Development Report. The United Nations World Water Development Report is the UN Water's flagship report on water and sanitation issues. Launched on the World Water Day, the report focuses on a different theme each year. And 2026, the focus will be on water and gender. The report will highlight the critical nexus between water and gender, emphasizing the need of mainstream gender in water management. It means to raise awareness, dismantle stereotypes, promote women's empowerment, and encourage concrete support for gender equality in the water sector. It is scheduled to be discussed during the conference, this UN Water Conference in December 2026. May I have the next slide, please? Thank you very much for your attention, and I would like to raise here the importance of water and gender in 2025. That is a year that will get us prepared, best prepared for 2026, when the whole UN community will be specially focused on women and water issues. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Diana. As a partner of Soroptimist International, we thank Women for Water Partnership for highlighting and working towards resolutions for water as a women's issue. Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to introduce Sandra Harms.
Good morning. Thank you, Lee, and everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Lee, I would like to, if possible, to share my screen. I sent a final PowerPoint that is not this one. Can you give me capabilities to?
Joe will do that.
Okay, thank you.
So you should be able to share your screen, Sandra. It might show the option. If not, I'll just I'll make you a co-host and see if that does it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, here we go. All right, let's see. We are, okay. Very good. Okay, so what a wonderful topic to bring to all of us. Is a concern that is worldwide and is getting more urgent. Not just the quality of water, but what really is affecting many people around the world, millions of people around the world, is the it's really to find water, and there are also films of thinking that water is we are running out of water. The 1% around the world of fresh water is running out, and that is something that we all have to be very mindful that our actions, our daily actions, are also affecting to that running out of fresh water, and that we need to really take care of our source, and bring the mindfulness and be responsible for that. So the World Environmental Day, Women, Water, and Plastic, and thank you so much for allowing me to be here. So water and women and plastic, okay, that is what I bring in, and I'm going to go through the slides as we have limited time. So millions of women and girls walk miles each day just to find clean water, sacrificing time, education, and safety for a basic human right. And we just turn the faucet on, and there we have water. And so there is this problem that we bring the attention, and suddenly is we start our day and we forget about this, right? But this is a concern, not just because of going and find the water, but the safety of women walking those miles and bringing the water to their families. So the increased times and burdens, and women's, all that, it takes away the opportunity to be educated, to have the opportunities in life, as all of us. And so it is really something that they have to deal with every single day. Now, when we talked about water, also, we have to think about the climate and the floods causing disruption in these people's lives. And it's anywhere, we don't know when the next one is coming from, right? Or where it's going to hit. So it's really placing women in great danger. So women and water, the water rights they need to be protected. We are really having a lot of women are in the front line for movements, for coming, getting together, and being out there protesting for the injustice and things that what we should have as our rights in water. So to protect our ecosystems, right? So the women and water, we have the water access inequality, we have the climate disruptions amplifying the risks, and we have the sanitation and dignity, and women as water protectors always being in the front line and also producing risks, as we are the ones that are protecting our water. So what are the actions that we need to take? If you really think, we back up organizations like Women for Water and support what directly is empowering local women, push for climate justice law that hold polluters accountable across borders, and consume pressures and policies can force corporations to include the menstrual equity in global ESG reporting. So when we talk about water, we're just not talking about fresh water. The impacts of water, it is impacted also by plastic. And that is something that we have talked about. We have heard from others, microplastics coming, plastic being in water for so long, it will never go away, right? And there's a very wonderful new technology coming and discoveries coming that they are hopeful to be able to clean up our oceans. But the impacts of plastics are ocean, river, lakes, gutters, right? Then the street, the gutters in the streets, that we don't know how much pollution goes into the gutters and then off they go into the ocean. And also plastics are really affecting our health and in general, the life on Earth, the quality of life that we are going to have in 50 years because of the pollution is not the same that we have today or what we had 50 years ago. So it is affecting our oceans, all microplastic, like I just said, it is not disintegrating and it's affecting our marine life and all. The plastic pollution in oceans this year, over 8 million tons of plastic enter the world's ocean, posing a severe risk for marine life and ecosystems. I mean, we hear about that, but we even have the plastic in the food that we eat. It's already in our food, the fish that we consume. It's already in the air. It's already in our system. Like it or not, it is proven that plastic we already have contaminated our own bodies, and plastic lives within ourselves already. So the actions to take: ban single-use plastic and invest in reusable alternatives globally. We have whole corporations accountable for plastic production and toxic packaging. Support scientific innovation and policy to eliminate microplastic from food and water. So, and here we go, right? How is plastic affecting women's life? And it goes directly in our cosmetics. Okay, the microplastic in beauty products in the air we breathe is really in everything that you put on. It takes 30 seconds to absorb all of the softness of your body lotion or your cream is soft because of the microbeads. The microbeads in lotions are also plastic, really tiny little round things that they put it in the creams so the creams are softer, and we think, oh, this is wonderful. Yes, wonderful. 30 seconds it takes for your body, your skin to absorb that plastic that's going onto your skin. So be careful, especially with children. Okay, it is disrupting their hormones, is making really a wonderful, I shouldn't say wonderful, it's really creating a disruptive impact in our children. So it will be wonderful if we could say no to all of those chemicals and just choose organic. Please be very mindful on doing that for your children and your family. So the actions to take: demand full ingredient transparency, right? And plastic-free beauty standards. Support clean beauty brands. That is key to go and then all of those green companies. We have to support them so we have more. And when we have more, people get healthier. So let's think about that, okay? And shift the industry norms toward refillable, biodegradable packaging. Also, the plastics are in-home cleaning products. The plastics used in packaging, cleaning products can release the organic compounds. So we really have to be mindful as well that if you smell chemicals, all of those the smell are the enzymes, are things that are going into, the chemicals are going into your body through your smell, through your nose. And that is something that we need to avoid at all cost. And, the risk of health, asthma, endocrine disruption due to prolonged exposure, it's very serious, especially in babies, right? That their immune system is not fully developed, so they can't really, the body cannot really fight those chemicals going into their bodies, because we're smelling different type of chemicals. So very serious. What we're going to do is switch to non-toxic plastic-free cleaning products, advocate for bans on hormone disrupting chemicals in packaging, and educate and empower women to lead toxin-free home movements. So let's move on into textiles. The plastic in textiles and fashion is alarming, really, not just because it's piling up as something that textiles are overproduced, but is the chemicals, is 8,000 chemicals used in the solutions for a piece of fabric to end to the final process. And all of those chemicals, again, we are wearing them. So when they say sustainable fashion, don't go for the fast fashion that is, we see so much. Oh, and we want to buy them because they're cheap. Yes, but also you wear them once or twice, and then you wash them or send them to cleaners or whatever, and usually a $5, $10, or $15 piece of garment, you're not going to send it to the cleaners, right? But they lose their shape and your money's wasted. So, we really have to look at the chemicals involved in the production of the textiles, and really be able to support sustainable designers. There are many, and there are more and more and more, because they see the urgency of getting textiles out of the landfill and get those 8,000 chemicals with the water in it's just really affecting the underwater ways, where the chemicals are going, and with the rain and all, chemicals are going underground and polluting the underwaters rivers that we have. And it's very serious as well. So be mindful of that. The actions to take is choose natural, organic, certified sustainable fibers. And as you see, the microfibers filters for your washing machine and your dryer is very important, to not have this microfibers going into the ocean. So we have microbeads, we have microfibers, and microplastics, right? So to make that a bit the difference. Now we have the plastic in the atmosphere, and as we know, when we have it is all over, everywhere. We are exposed, women are exposed to the highest level. Women are the ones working and even sometimes picking up bottles, picking up all this plastic to sell it for recycling material. So the plastic-borne, airborne toxins, it's very, very serious and very toxic for people's health, especially women. So the actions to take is to phase out plastic incinerations and invest in zero waste circular systems, implement strict air quality regulations targeting microplastic pollution, and promote green infrastructure and indoor air purifiers to reduce exposure, especially in vulnerable communities. So, like I said, babies are very much at risk, and because their heart beats faster, they breathe faster, and get all these toxins very, very quickly into their system, especially when they are crawling on carpets. Okay, the carpet, the fibers of the carpets, and then they put their little hands in their mouth, they touch their faces, and so on and so forth. We don't know, so it is so important to educate mothers and educate our communities, especially women, that we are at the heart of the family. So, and women carry the burden of water and plastic pollution, but also lead the fight for change, as we are all here fighting for change in our own way, in our own communities. So to protect our future, we must support their leadership, women's in our communities, right? To cut plastic at the source and defend the clean water for all. So my name is Sandra Hans, and I am in San Diego, California now. And a big hug to all of you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Sandra. And thank you for this urgent and inspiring calls to action. Your voice is a spark in the transformation our world so desperately needs. And thank you for getting up early to present to us. Thank you.
You're
We're
welcome.
from around the globe, so we have time frames from around the globe as well. I'd now like to introduce Dr. Ngozi, and she will present health aspects of clean water and sanitation with gender lens. Thank you, Ngozi. Dr. Ngozi, are you there?
I am so sorry. I just realized I mute myself. Thank you.
We couldn't hear you.
I just realized I saw unmute yourself, so I knew it was out. Oh, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. It's clean water is something very dear to my heart. I spent the last 3 years doing a whole lot of work on water. And when I was called to do this, and I'm like, okay, let me just share what the little I know and a whole lot that we can do. So as I talk about this, I bring the passion inside me with this because it's a lot that I discovered in the past 3 years. It's always been there, but it was just my discovery. So thanks for this opportunity to do this. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. I want you to take a look on my left side is village and aerial view, and there's on the bottom part of it is a village, and you look on the right side is natural cistern, and then the same thing on the lower part of that first picture is also another kind of a lake or a pond. And I want you to look at what's going on. We see women, and we see water. We see unclean water. We look on the side, we see the villages up on the hill, down the hill, and at the end of the day, they have to go fetch water to take care of the whole household. And everything I'm talking about on this slide has already been mentioned from the last two presenters. So I'm not going to go into how many women walking through the life issues, the challenges women face. So we'll just go on to the next slide. And I want you to keep this, especially the two pictures on the right, at the back of your mind. If you look at this, I want to bring this to everybody. I know we know this, But just to bring it to that attention that water pollution is a global problem, and we know that. But think about that being in South Florida, in United States, and you think about Asian. And we typically see African and a few other countries, but when you think about water pollution, it's not an African thing, it's not an Asian thing, it's not an American thing, it's a world thing. Next slide, please. Okay, and this tells us what this is a crisis and is real. And currently I find myself, I had to be in Nigeria and I'm dealing with a few things. And if you look at, if anybody has heard the news, you know what's going on with the pollution, the water, it's a big issue. So that it hits home because it's the women and the children that go through the depth of what the pollution does. So next slide. And before you leave this slide, sorry, it's 1 out of every 10 people in the world that on this planet that has no access to clean water. Next slide, please. Okay, so I bring this particular slide to specify something. One is water poverty and one is scarcity. Scarcity we know is when it's not available and they're dealing with droughts and they can't find water, or we have to dig boreholes to get water to different people in different locations. But poverty is the quality of water. So the poorer the water, the worse the health issues that it can create. We know water has a utility. We know it's a resource. And we also know from the past two presenters that it's limited availability. And we know it sustains life. But the biggest issue we have to look at, even with the available water, the question is, how good is it? How clean is it? How poor is the water for the health of the human beings that have to deal with it? And imagine looking at that young child on the right side of this, my right, your left, well, my right side, getting that water. And care is not taken, he's going to go home and use that water as poor as that water is. And imagine what can happen in his body. Next slide, please. So I talk about water safety and sanitation. We know the statistics, we know the numbers. Over 800 children under 5 die every day from diarrhea caused by contaminated water. And then we also know that 1.6 billion people live without access to adequate sanitation. And then the number of people for open defecation. But then I want to take you to that statement from the US Safe Drinking Water Act that talked about what is a safe drinking water. In 1974, this went into law by the US Congress, and it's EPA are the ones responsible to making sure the standard is followed. What is it saying? When the water is safe enough for public consumption. And what does safe enough for public consumption means? It means a particular standard has been set in place that if a certain amount of specifications based on what can be inside water, if it's above, is a health concern, is a health risk. It's below, is safe. Is within the specification, is acceptable. So next slide. So let's look at these safe standards. When you talk about water contaminants, there's 4 major groups. It's not the only groups, but this is the 4 major recognized by EPA that is constituting water contaminations. One is physical, one is chemical, one is microbiological, and the other one is radiological. Typically, when you deal with radiological, they're where they had cesiums, plutoniums, uraniums. We typically don't see those. Very few places where they've had atomic bombs or had a production of nuclear bombs that where you will see stuff like that for radiological contaminants. But then we look at microbiological contaminant. That's everywhere. Whether in the United States, in Africa, in Asia, in Guatemala, you name it, you're going to find it. And it's when the water is contaminated with microorganisms that are unsafe for drinking. Then we look at chemical contaminants. Chemical is a little bit wider than we normally would look at it. We have organic contaminants, we have inorganic contaminants. Under organic contaminants, we can have natural matter, organic matters, we have polyatomic hydrocarbons, and we have emerging, as they call it, emerging contaminants like the PFAS and the bisphenols. Those are not emerging, there's already there. There's so many of them that we have to look at. And then we look at the physical contaminant. Those ones that typically can be handled. And they are typically turbidity of water and how much solids are in it and how that would also affect your body. We're going to look at it on the next slide, please. So I took a synopsis of some of the specifications that EPA parameters for these contaminants. If we look at arsenic, it should not be more than 0.01 parts per million. And if you have more than that, we run into other associated risks and the health issues. And you look at barium, it should not be more than 2 parts per million. If you look at cadmium, it should not be more than 0.005. If you look at chromium, and the list goes on. I'm not going to just try to name the numbers, but I want you to get a feel and an idea that when we talk about water poverty and when we talk about water standard, we're looking at these specifications and saying, is this water within the standard that it will not be a health risk for anybody consuming it? Next slide, please. So we look at the health effect. Remember, we're looking at the health aspects of water contaminations. And so the first one, we look at aluminum. There's a whole list of them. I'm just giving a synopsis of what we have. We worry about bioaccumulation and bioconcentration and biomagnification. But if we look at aluminum, we have so much of it in the body. What happens? It affects the brain. Overdose increases oxidative stresses. You look at arsenic, they lower IQ in children. They are also carcinogenics and they cause anemia. The list goes on. So one by one, you see the detrimental health effects of those. Next slide, please. Please, next slide. Okay. So I want to talk about the health implications. And we're looking at the two major things I want you to look at is the bioaccumulation and biomagnification. Accumulation is you take a little bit and the body does not detoxify it, it builds up in your system. You take another one, it adds on top of what has not been detoxified. And the more you take and the less detoxification that's going on in the body, the more accumulation your body has. Magnification comes when you eat the leaves, the meat, and all those have had a little bit of all these chemicals due to soil contaminants and the water they drink contaminants, and then you ingest them. Now it is magnified in your body because you have not just one source, multiple sources of these contaminants going into your body. Next slide, please. So I had a slide before this one that should have been right under there, but it's okay. And what we're now looking at, knowing the bioaccumulation and biomagnification and the concentration level in the body, then we realize when we exceed those concentration by allowed limits by EPA, we expose the person to health risks. So we're now looking at the individual. Remember, these ones are the chemical contaminants. I didn't take all the microbial contaminants. I could take any contaminants and run with it, but I just pulled in the microbial the chemical contaminants. And we look at the cobalt, what they can do. In fact, we're talking about women. Look at on the number 3, it says irregular menstruation and frequent miscarriages. You look at lead, it damages the ability of the children disabilities in learning. So it's so much that we have to look at. As much as some of them are good for us, bioaccumulation tells us they become a health risk. Next slide. And we look at manganese, nickel, selenium, all the different issues or health risks they pose to whoever is consuming them beyond the acceptable limit. Next slide, please. And look at silver, zinc. And I also want to talk about dye too. I find a lot has not been talked about dyes, but dyes are not a big issue that we find. And I know Sandra just finished talking about the clothings and how we use them, how we dispose them. And then you have to also think about the industries that dye these clothings and how much of the water, it uses so much water to even dye a material. And then look at those waters are discharged into our water bodies and is not cleaned. It's not purified. It's not detoxified before it comes to consumption of a lot of people. And look at what it can cause. It can trigger asthma, central nervous system disorder, hormonal disruptions, bladder cancers. So there's a whole lot of exposure. So this is something we also have to educate, especially women, especially in that industry, and bring people to awareness of what's going on. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. I know I could talk about the radiological, the microbiological, but I believe a lot of people are aware of the diarrhea, the different typhoids, hepatitis, all the different issues that come from exposure to microorganisms, viruses, and especially how badly it affects the children. But I just wanted to specify more on the chemical contaminants, because we look at the water, it says safe water, it looks clean, you don't see anything. But for you to see these chemicals, you have to take it into the lab. You have to analyze it with specific instruments to make sure that the composition is not beyond, or should at least be within the acceptable limit. And that is something you cannot see with your bare, just like the microorganisms you cannot see. So looking at the water and they look clean does not mean it's clean. So what should we do? I know I put it in this slide, join the mission to find solutions for wastewater treatment, provide clean water to at-risk global poor community. But let's go to the next slide and let's talk about the actions that are in place. We know this, everybody had, a whole lot of people have talked about this, so I'm not going to spend time on this, but I want to spend time on water technology and water approach. What do we want to do? Next slide, please. Okay. So, like I said, in the past 3 years, I spent a whole lot of work in the lab working on different kinds of water, lakes, runoffs, you name it. It was wastewater treatment and analysis and documenting what could be done. So number one, what we have to do is look at new technologies for getting pure water. And number two will be new policies that should go in place when we have these technologies. And number three is behaviors of the communities, getting them to know what to do, what not to do, and when to do it. And major thing is when we talk about sanitation. When people have water, sanitation is really not a major problem, because who wants to be dirty? Who wants to defecate? Who wants to do all those things? They do it because there's no access to pure water. I mean, clean water. But when there's water, it will not be as much a problem as it is. So we have to also get agency participations, collaborations to increase water availability. That's the biggest thing, water availability. And I can't stress it enough. Even though the scarcity of water, but even the available water, how poor is it? And if it's that poor, what can we do to make it clean so that when they use it, it's not a health risk? Next slide, please. So there's a little technology that is in place based on what we did in the past 3 years. And where it doesn't matter your water source, the technology should not be only dependent on a particular water source. You can have lakes, you can have wastewaters, you can have rainwater, you can have ice water, wherever the water is, or contaminated water from miners in different areas, industrial contamination, dye contamination. The source of water should not matter if we have a basic technology that will bring it to a certain level where it's not a health risk to take the water. So water abstraction is how we take it out from the source, and then water treatment is what I want to look at. And this treatment allows, if you look at the effective water purification process, it allows you the amount of microns that is allowed to remove a certain kind of contaminants. If you look on the table on the below, it says suspended particles, micromolecules, oil emulsions, proteins, bacterial cells, submolecular, and you look at all those and you look on that diagram, it tells you the microfiltration, what it will remove, ultrafiltration, what it will remove, nanofiltration, what it will remove, and reverse osmosis, what it will remove. Now, a lot of us in the Western world know that reverse osmosis is very expensive. An average person dealing with water poverty cannot afford that. So what do? This technology allows us to use natural materials, earthen materials in their local communities, teach them how to build these local water purifications that God gave them freely, and we should help them get it freely and show them how to use this. And think about this. If we all join hands together, we can create in each rural area a subdivision, a substation where they teach them how to make this with the local materials they have and distribute it among themselves and teach them safe storage. And guess what? It can also become an income source for the women, because It's women for women. And when we teach a woman what to do, the child is taught correctly. The child grows up better. The family is taken care of and life gets better. So I'm asking, as much as we are talking about it, there's solutions out there that are not expensive. They're really not expensive from my findings in the past 3 years. So whatever we can do to help create a clean water that is safe, reduces the risk of the at-risk communities, and better their health, I think that's the way we have to go. Next slide. And it's thank you. And this is Loretta Ndu. Interestingly, my maiden name Ndu means life. So I find it passionate that I want to do things that give life to the people who are not having the best quality of life. And for this opportunity, I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Ngozi. Your presentation is inspiring to open our eyes to the facts of water, health effects, scarcity and pollution, as well as sharing the resolutions to inspire action with a gender lens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Lydia Bernard-Jones, please.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Greetings from sunny Nairobi, Kenya. I would like to do a deep dive into what Impact Water does. As my profile says in the chat, I've had experience working within the WASH space and currently leading behavior change for our WASH program in Kenya, Nigeria, and Uganda. So if we can go to the next slide, essentially, it's a nice segue from leading from the presentation from our previous speakers, just kind of highlighting what's happening in communities and the steps that we're currently taking to really make a difference. And really just to highlight that Impact Water brings its unique approach because of the scale at which we are operating. So in we're one of the largest school-focused water treatment programs globally. We have the approach that combines kind of technology, which is simple, which I'll highlight, but also in collaboration with behavior change programming. And then we have really key sustainability with using people within the community, leveraging their voice to ensure that we have long-term adoption and maintenance. A lot of our work is also evidence-based, and then it is really, really community-centered. So the image you see on the screen, and there are lots of images that I'll talk about as we go through the presentation. This was one of my very first field visits in Kenya in one of our schools that we were operating to really give health education around water treatment. Next. So, just imagine, 25 million children across Kenya, Nigeria, and Uganda. They start their school day with a simple choice: drinking from our blue tank with water that's safe and treated, or risk illness from a contaminated source. So this choice is not only a health choice, but really it can determine your entire future. And this entire presentation will go through talking about how access to water is really a predeterminant for your life, for young people, for getting out of poverty, for education, for well-being, and so many other things, as other speakers have also highlighted. So on the image, you see two students. They're actually two young girls who are getting water from our blue tank, really placed strategically outside of their classroom. Next. So our overview, I'll talk about the challenge we face, our grassroots solution, the breakthrough moments, the impact we've achieved, lessons for really our global community, and our call for action. So next. So the reality on the ground, in the 60,000 schools, 60,000 plus schools that we operate, they really struggle with water safety. And most of that is really, these are schools that already have some version of access to water, or they're also making solutions to get access to water. And most of these, the burden is borne by girls who have to, one, be collecting the water, as a previous speaker talked about, but also the water-related illnesses. And we see that 40% of the non-usage that we get in terms of schools having adoption of our product is mostly around water scarcity due to all that's happening in our environment and changes, right? And then we have really traditional approaches that we've done previously do not have the behavior change element. And this is very important because you do not only provide the technology, but you have to change the way of life of these communities from what they used to do and how they used to approach water, and thinking of like, yes, this is treated water, this is safe for drinking, and this is okay. And why women and girls are mostly affected, it's really because girls miss most days in school, as our previous speaker had highlighted, that women mostly bear the burden of collecting water for homes, and the same thing happens when they are at school. Female teachers often then have to do the caregiving whilst at school, especially when students fall ill. And as I also already talked about, water collection then directly affects women and girls' education time. Now, the image you see, this is actually our director of operations. This is the source this particular school goes to get water every day. Next slide. So what is our solution? We really use simple technology, provide these schools with 100-liter tanks and chlorine tablets to treat their water. It's a community-based approach because we have local field agents who are from the same community who engage them and talk about our technology, talk about the usage of our water to ensure there's continuity. And then our behavior change focus is not just providing the tools, but changing the habits. And if we look at the lens of like the gender approach, we see that 84% of health teachers are predominantly women. And so they now drink treated water. We have our female field agents who are trusted voices in the community. And we have that mother to daughter knowledge transfer happens. So you see our field agents on the screen, on the right side of the screen, engaging teachers who are in the school, predominantly women, about our product. And then you have students also taking water from our blue tanks. Next slide. So what is our breakthrough moment? You know, what we've learned is that change has really changed everything. Climate setting was really important, being able to build relationships before delivering these messages. Because it's often we think that, yes, we've given you chlorine to treat your water, we've given you the tank, you should automatically do it. But there are so many barriers that we have to deal with people, you know, with chlorine resistance, or we've drank this water, it tastes better. Well, I can see that the water is clear. Why am I going to drink water from the blue tank? A lot of these things that we have to really deal with. And then we have student leadership. It's really, really important to empower like young people as water ambassadors. And then doing engagement with all teachers and not really focusing only on health teachers, because this is a community approach. And this having everyone as water champions is very important. We also did innovative kind of pilots in order to kind of nudge schools to get them into using and only accessing safe treated water. And this included doing, you know, blocking taps to reduce access to unsafe sources, making sure we have high performing schools, mentoring other schools who maybe are struggling to adopt our usage, and then doing creative like posters that drive engagement and behavior change. Next slide. So the impact we've achieved, the numbers that matter, 83% of our schools now have at least one of these tanks properly set up, so students have access to water. We have 56% who exclusively use only safe, and I should actually add safe treated water from our sources, and then 36 who have really achieved perfect usage. So 36% of 60,000 is quite a good number. And beyond this, the real challenge is that what we do is really to reduce absenteeism. If we reduce the number of absent students, that means you're able to stay in school and learn, right? And especially illnesses due to waterborne diseases, right? We increase your confidence. You're in school, you have access to water whilst you're in school. You don't have to worry about when school is over and when the day is done, I have to go to the river, I have to remember where my jerry cans are. You're able to really focus. And then this is really sustainable because a lot of our products, you can get them in pharmacies. It's not a technology that's hard to use. It doesn't require a lot of investment. So it's easy, especially because there's not a lot of technology involved, so there's not too much supervision needed. And communities can really take ownership of this or water safety. So you can see our field agent engaging with learners in school, talking about how the water is safe, treating the water, and yeah, just getting them to know that this is an important work. Next slide, please. So really lessons for the global community is that local voices matter. Community members need to be involved so that we can have lasting change. Behavior change takes time. We've come a long way to get to where we are, and we are doing small steps to ensure women and girls who are vulnerable, but also powerful, feel supported to be change agents in their community. And really the most important is that sometimes very simple solutions can work because complex problems do not always need complex answers. So next slide. And really the call for action on the left side of the screen, this bottle of water, and I usually show this image, is of a young primary school student whose parents, that was the bottle of water that he was given to go to school. And really what we want to do is that these blue tanks that are in schools and giving chlorine to these schools is that it's a representation of hope, right? And hope that clean, safe, treated water access can be universal, it can be sustainable, and it can be community owned. So next slide. I really want to, thank you all because for listening to this presentation and hearing about, all of our work at Impact Water, and we look forward to hopefully engaging further during the questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lydia. What a difference you and Impact Water have made to so many children through behaviour change. It is such a simple system to a very complex problem. May many more duplicate this system. I'd now like to introduce Dawn Fleming from Waterlution, celebrating 22 years. Thank you, Dawn.
Hello, everybody. It's a real honor to be with this group of incredible women who are working towards a healthier future for our water and for the women of the future, caring for all of the global community. So thank you all, and I'm inspired by our colleagues' work. And I'm going to start by contextualizing. So 22 years ago, a woman called Karen Kuhn, next slide, please. A woman called Karen Kuhn, she was at the World Summit in Johannesburg. Actually, it was in 2002 that she was there. And after having done a fair amount of work globally, in the Global South principally, working in a lot of remote communities, she started putting two and two together, and she started making connections and understanding and seeing where there were gaps. And when she went to the summit in 2002, and I know some of our colleagues as well with Women for Water were at the same summit, she realized nobody was talking about water. And she had an idea. And she said, what if we start talking about water? And what if we start trying to connect young people to talk about water and look and see what kind of skills they need in order to do that effectively, in order to be able to respond to the water and climate challenges that they're facing in their communities. And so that woman is Karen Kuhn. She was the founder and president today, until today, of Waterlution. And I bring Karen as our kind of first case study of what's possible when you're encouraged, particularly as a young woman, that your ideas are valuable and that you have power to make change. And so from that perspective, I bring her as our first case study, and I'll bring a few more about the work that Waterlution does. So next slide, please. Waterlution, as we started at the beginning, was founded 22 years ago by Karen. And over the years, we've done a lot of work in a lot of countries and have identified these 7 principal goals. And I, of course, please have a look through all of them. But I'd like to highlight the first one, okay? That we equip youth and young professionals to create and lead the future of water security and climate change adaptation, particularly women Indigenous, and other underrepresented peoples. So this being right at the head of all of the other actions and all the other goals that we take, it's really important for us, and all of our programs around the world reflect this principle, goal, and our subsequent goals are all intertwined. But in the context of this session today, I thought it was important to share. Next slide, please. So what do we do in order to respond to the urgent and paramount water security and climate needs that the world has for solutions? We work in a variety of ways. So we work across innovation, we work with youth leadership, and we work with art and creativity. And we have a platform as well called the World Water Journey, and I invite you all to learn about it. And we have various points across the world where water challenges and water solutions and water leaders are highlighted and profiled. Next slide, please. So I said that I was going to present several case studies. Okay, so Karen was our first, the founder of Waterlution. This project that we ran in 2021 in Mozambique is the second case study I'd like to bring. So we working with this hypothesis, always with a hypothesis. If adolescent girls in this age of 12 to 15 receive capacity building and leadership, water innovation, and permaculture connected to the critical challenge of scarce water resources and poor sanitation in their schools, then they will be empowered to participate in the decisions about which responses and interventions could be developed in their schools, raising school attendance, boosting their confidence, and creating shared gender transformative value for the community. So we did that. We tested this hypothesis, and the hypothesis was proved true. How did we do it? Through a train the trainer program where we took 5 women who were university educated, which only 2% of the population in Mozambique is for women. And they were trained with water and sanitation and health skills and collaborative innovation skills. And then those women went and worked with school-aged girls from 12 to 15 to have them co-create solutions for their schools. And the hypothesis was proved true. Next slide, please. Currently, we are working in the northeast of Brazil with another hypothesis that is built around innovation, governance, and community. And we are working from this perspective. If women from informal peri-urban settlements are prioritized in the co-creation, design, and application of a community WASH diagnostic tool, and subsequently are trained in WASH, creative communication approaches, and public policy mechanisms, then they will be equipped with the capacity and network leverage and increased confidence to represent and insert themselves into WASH decision-making and governance processes. There is a significant lack of women in global water governance. And as we've seen from all of our colleagues' presentations, women are at the base and the foundation of every single water question that affects our health, that affects our education, that affects our economic prosperity, affects our community, affects our lifespan. And how is it that we are not present equally in water governance? And so this project is focusing on how to insert women into water governance in Brazil. And we are 2/3 of the way through with an incredible group of women who this afternoon on World Environment Day are going to be having public policy mechanisms workshop right now. So next slide, please. The next case that I want to bring is about our global program of water innovation labs. So Waterlution works across the world, and we have done so since 2003. And you can see here a number of the countries where we've worked. Water innovation labs, as was so, we were honored to be cited in the opening statement about the importance of water security as the governing global question. We treat this question in a collaborative innovation format, gathering youth 18 to 35 years old to focus on what skills they need in order to co-create solutions for their local, regional, and global water and climate challenges. And so here are some images. Here are some of the citations of where we've done that around the world. And next slide, please. how do we do all of our work? We build partnerships. We build partnerships globally, regionally, and locally. Here are some of our global partners to give an idea. I really heartfully endorse Lydia's comments about the importance of relationships being the foundation for everything. In order for any of the transformative power to take place, we need to first establish the relationships with the people with whom we are going to work. Next slide, please. So here I direct you to, as well as some of the stories from participants from the Mozambique story. You can find them on our website. Next slide, please. My name's Dawn, and I am the innovation lead for Waterlution's work. I'm based in Sao Paulo, and it's a real honor to be part of the Women for Water Partnership Steering Committee. Looking forward to a few more years together, and just to encourage all young women everywhere to stand up and take action for their rights and our rights for water. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dawn. We congratulate you and Waterlution on your 22 years of facilitating and energizing inclusive global water and climate change collaboration with innovation and solutions. Thank you very much for your work. I'd now like to introduce Bev Bakur. Bev is the lady that's helped do most of this organizing for this event. So I personally want to thank you, Bev, before you start presenting. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee, and hello to everyone. Today I'm going to tell you a story about a collaboration with a wonderful organization and 2 Soroptimist clubs from the Midwestern region. Next slide, please. Who is Mumsy? Well, I had the opportunity to hear about Mumsy's work through a connection from the United Nations. The chair of the NGO Committee on Sustainable Development told me that she had seen a woman present that I had to meet because she lives in Illinois. So Mumsy is a Soroptimist now, but her organization is Mumsy's Child Relief Foundation. You see the picture of Mumsy with the children, some of the children she works with before, and you will see the after pictures later, which are quite striking. But anyway, her foundation reaches over 3,000 students. She pays the salaries of 40 teachers, and there are 17 schools and orphanages that she works with in Cameroon. Next slide, please. There's a little bit about her work. I'm not going to tell you about everything, but how she got her start. She was born and raised in Cameroon, and then she came to the United States for college. And through a chance meeting, a car accident, she hit the car of a man in Chicago, and he was very angry. And then they exchanged information, and he started speaking to her, and he asked her in the end to marry him. Her response was, "I want to make a difference for the children of Cameroon. I will marry you if you agree to that mission and you will support my work." He wholeheartedly did. And he actually is such a great support. He has adopted 300 children in Cameroon from the orphanages. When the children are in the orphanage, they don't have a name. These are children whose parents just gave them up with no name. They have no name, no birth certificate. So as he told me, he said, we can't, bring all of them to the United States, but we can give them a name, and we can do, what we can for them to see that they're educated and they have a chance. So that's her wonderful husband. But anyway, she's got her start going back to Cameroon when she visits her family and going to the orphanages to work with children. During one of those visits, she met a priest, and he said to her, "If you really want to make a difference, I will show you a place that really needs you." And he took her to the jungles of Cameroon in the eastern part of the country. The jungles that she works in, there are no roads going in. To get in, you have to go by motorcycle. And sometimes when you get in, if the rainy season hits, then you're stuck. And that's how I'll talk a little bit about the schools, but that's how some of the projects get done, because even though we do them in pieces, sometimes the workers get in there, and then if the rainy season hits, they can't get out. So they just continue building the schools and the wells and so on, and then we pay them later. Next slide, please. So Mumsy, after I met Mumsy, I asked her how our club, Soroptimist International of Ileana, could help. And, her response was, to help her with sponsoring, some of the girls and school supplies and so on. So our first part of the project was, when we looked at the pictures, we did notice that, in a classroom, at the time, there might have been 40 students, and there were maybe 3 girls. So we knew that our first mission was to get more girls in school. Now, in order to do this, it was necessary for her to go to the chief of each of those villages and to the village elders. And the councils were made up all of men. And she had to convince them that it would benefit them to have girls in school. The other problem was that finances. Even though the tuition was only $10 a child, if the parents had any money, then a boy would be sent to school. Because the thought was, the girl will get married and go to her husband's family, and then that education would be lost. So we decided to target 50% ratio of boys to girls. And the first year we paid tuition, which was $10 for 50 girls to go to school. She also had to convince the men to not marry these young girls. The minute the girls, have their period, they would be ripe for someone to choose them as a wife, and child marriage was a huge problem. Mumsy tells the story of going to one chief, and she saw all of these young girls in the front yard, and she said to one girl, I came to talk to your father. And the girls all looked at each other. And when she said the name, they said, "Oh, you mean our husband?" So there were 22 girls, some as young as 10, that this chief had married. Well, Mumsy scolded him, and she said, this isn't right. But she convinced him to send all of the girls to school, with the $10 per tuition we were paying for each girl, so that they could get an education. And this changed the tone of all the families in the village. And they decided to send their girls. So what happened is, the girls were coming, and the teachers said, "What are we going to do? We're getting so many girls, we don't know what to do." And she said, "Just keep enrolling them." This also increased the amount of boys attending school too, because they did not want to be outdone. And they decided to send their boys too. Mumsy's Child Relief Organization, of course, has other supporters and donors. So, she was also helping to pay for the salary for some of the boys. We also paid for teachers. My club pays for 2 teachers, and the salary is $80 a month or $1,000 a year, which is just so cheap. I can't even imagine being a teacher. Um, we also learned then, when the girls came into school, that they did not have appropriate clothing. And some of the reason women could tell when a girl was ripe for marriage age is the clothes that they were wearing. Often they could look at the breasts, and also they could tell when the girls were menstruating because they wouldn't be going to school and they'd be staying in the house. So our next job was to find them appropriate clothing. So my club bought uniforms for all of the girls so that they would be properly covered. And you will see in the pictures, they really do cover them. They look like really old time uniforms. They're long and they're big and they cover them well because they do pass the uniforms down. The uniforms are $18 each and they're sewed locally in Cameroon. Regarding the other problem of sanitary issues, the girls did not have underwear, and they did not know how, when they had their period, they had to stay at home. And Mumsy said there was a hole in each of their houses, and the girls would have to sit on that hole so the blood could go, into that hole when they were menstruating. So we partnered with Days for Girls, and we partnered with several other Soroptimist clubs. One of them, Soroptimist International of Fond du Lac, and we purchased some washable sanitary kits. The club in Wisconsin actually sews the pads. We had to provide them with underwear because they did not have panties. They did not have bras. And the clubs in the Midwestern region, the Soroptimist clubs, do collect bras. We were collecting them for an organization called Freed the Girls for another project. But they said they didn't want the bras anymore. So we gladly took them, and Mumsy took them over to Africa, to Cameroon with her. Of course, U.S. bras were so big compared to the size of the girls that the women were able to cut them and make little, halters and things like that. So they adapted those so that the girls would be properly covered. Next slide. So basically, the three clubs, our club is in the village of Bide, and Mumsy worked when she saw the amount of children from less than 100 to almost 200. She did work with the government, and she convinced the government of Cameroon to build a two-room concrete schoolhouse. The teachers teach 3 grades. The school goes up to the 6th grade. And so they have a primary and then they have an intermediate classroom. They can have as many as 100 children in each of those classrooms. We pay the salaries of the 2 teachers. We provided the benches. We assist with books and supplies and everything that those teachers need. I also learned that the children often walk from far distances, and often they don't have food. So we assisted with providing finances, and the women provide the children with a nutritious meal. So it's another reason why they come to school. The next problem we learned was that when Mumsy went back, she asked, "Where are the girls?" And of course, as you heard in the other presentations, the girls often missed 2 to 3 hours of school because they were out collecting water. So we decided that we would provide them with a well. And I'm happy to say that the well we've just finished. The well is just being finished now, and when the girls come back to school in September, they will have a well. Soroptimist International of Chicago has a school as well. And they actually funded the construction of the school, and along with a funder, which is a friend of Soroptimist, who has her own foundation. So they were able to complete a 2-room concrete schoolhouse with all the benefits, the supplies, the teachers, the benches, everything for those children to go to school. The next thing that's happening is they are in the process. Soroptimist International Chicago has, they decided that once the children finished those 6th grades, there was no place for them to really go. Mumsy had a relationship with one trade school that was quite far away, but that would mean that only a few children would be able to go because you would have to send them to school and pay transportation, pay room and board, school fees and tuition, etc. So Chicago, the president of that club, Terry Phillips, and her family have decided to honor their mother by building a trade school. And that trade school is under construction now. Um, we had hoped it would open at the beginning of the school year in September, but it might be a little longer than that because the construction is taking a bit longer. Next slide, please. You see some of the pictures here. There's Mumsy in the classroom. And on the left, you see that there are mostly boys and they are in, regular dress, whatever they could find. And on the right, you can see what the school looks like now. This is our School of B-Day. And look at all those wonderful girls in their uniforms ready for school. We've only been working on this project. This would be the 4th year, and I think we've made remarkable progress. Next slide. And here is our big, beautiful toilet. As I said, the problem with girls also is the sanitary issues. There are only 4 toilet blocks in the schools that Mumsy works with, and we have one of them. Um, as you heard, waterborne illnesses, typhoid and cholera were a huge problem because there were no toilet facilities. The children, well, the community defecated out in the open. And of course, that would spread disease, with flies and insects and so on. It would also meant that the girls would stay out of school when they had their period because they had no place to go. So there on the left is the beginning, the digging of the toilet block, and on the right is our big, beautiful toilet block. One side for the girls facing the school so they can be safe. The back side is for the boys and the teachers. Next slide. This is a little bit about the trade school that I told you about. You can look at, the slide later, but they really hope to have a working have a working farm with agriculture, planting, and so on. So let's go on to the next slide. And then we have our water projects. Mumsy provides, she provides big blue barrels. When we ship things from the United States, they're shipped in big blue barrels by boat. And she gives those big blue barrels then to the families with filters for them to use. Um, she works in other places besides Cameroon, but our emphasis is on the area that we work with in Cameroon. So as I said, we're working. We help her with paying for those barrels that go over and the filters so that they can have clean water. And I'm hoping to work with Lydia so that we can ensure we get those chlorine tablets to further purify the water. Mumsy did get sick. She got typhoid and malaria a couple of years ago when she went over, and she was very ill. And children do die. But the good thing is, in our villages that had the toilet block and the wells, no children died. Next slide. And you see the pictures of the pump wells. Those are the ones that we're going to we're working on to have installed. They cost $4,500 for a well, but it will really improve things for the girls, so they don't have to travel to collect water. Next slide. And then here's Mumsy with the washable sanitary kits. She has distributed over 1,000 kits, not only to our villages, but in the nursery schools, and so on. Right now, she's just received 600 of the washable sanitary pads from Soroptimist International of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and she's going to take those over to Cameroon on her next visit so that she can pass them out. And the women are very excited about these pads. And I think that's it. Next slide. So anyway, I do want to invite you all. Please contact me if you want to know more about the project. It's a way that you can really make a difference and solve some of the issues that we've been talking about in all the presentations. So thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Bev. There's so many facets to this project: building schools, training teachers, period poverty, pardon me, water biosecurity, empowering the village women, education, a wonderful example of how much needs to be done to achieve results for women and girls. Thank you. Now, I apologize to our next couple of speakers because we really are. Everything that you've heard tonight is so complex that everyone's gone a little bit over time. So I now introduce Mary Muir, our Soroptimist International President of SI Africa. Mary.
Thank you very much, Lee, and everybody. Good evening from the coastal region of Kenya. By the Indian Ocean, Kilifi Creek, where this morning I was joined by women who are very brave and young people, and we collected plastics and the water bottles thrown around at the creek as our contribution to World Environment Day. So I come to you to present to you this action from Africa Soroptimist International, which is World Environment Greening Horizon, Soroptimist leading the way. This action started in the year 2020 at the COVID time. The picture you are seeing on the right is 3 years after the greening had begun at the roadsides of Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya. You can see in 3 years' time, where we had found no trees, we had a bush or a forest. So building on this initiative, the greening of our horizon, Soroptimist leading the way action was born. Next slide. This initiative is implemented by the Club of Nairobi Central in Kenya, one of SIAF's clubs in Africa. And this club was chartered on the 2nd November of 2019, and it has 25 members currently. Next slide. The project of greening our horizon is a really bold move. It is women-led, and it is a large-scale environmental restoration that is going to combat deforestation, biodiversity loss, soil erosion, and also air pollution. We have 3 areas to focus on, and we would wish that the Club of Nairobi Central makes a lot of collaborations with women groups, with governments, and also with other like-minded organizations in our communities to do this very bold move. We are also planting trees, especially the native tree species, fruits and vegetables across 5 regions of Africa from last year up to 2027. We began with the region in Kenya, and we have planned that this action will be scaled up to other 4 regions in the 4 geographical regions of Africa. The communities themselves are trained, especially to advocate for greening of the horizons, and also how to have sustainable agroforestry practices. Next slide. in the bid to look for partnerships, we do a lot of walkarounds to look into compounds or areas where we can partner with the communities or governments, and we scout and source for any opportunity where we can influence either the individual farmer organizations or government land where we can be able to influence to plant trees. Next slide. Our objectives are 5, and one of it is that we are looking to see that green cover in our continent is improved, and that will make sure that we have good air quality. We also want to educate and empower women so that they can be environmental champions in conserving our environment. We want to promote advocacy and influence policy so that this greening our horizon can be the order of the day in every community where we have women and children. And of course, through this, we shall be enhancing food security and economic empowerment of our communities. And finally, we are strengthening climate among women and their communities. Next slide. This initiative is born of women and young people in the community or youth groups, and their identity, like you can see, the logo it has a tree of life with Soroptimist holding hands together. The concept meaning that the large vibrant tree represents life, and that the roots are intertwined, what means that multiple women and their hands will be reaching at the base so that they can be able to grow and sustain these actions that they start in their communities. So this logo represents both environmental restoration and community involvement. In this, we are looking to save Mother Earth in the world, starting from where we are in Africa. Next slide. This is our timeline for the project. We began in October, December last year, 2024, and we have had a lot of pre-implementation action where we looked for the opportunities to partner. We were able to have a global partnership with Soroptimist International Foundation that has supported this action. We have secured a partnership with the Kenya government in the State Department of the Children's Welfare Services, and we have many women groups and youth groups that are with us. The planning for planting season campaign began in January up to March. In Kenya, we don't have rains there yet that time, but we conducted a lot of trainings and visits to the places where we will green and agree with the women who will do what, and the institutions on how they will care for the planted trees until when the rains commenced in the month of March, in the month of April up to July. So third phase is planting season that began in April, and it is going on from April to July. We are enjoying immense rains in Kenya now, and we are very hopeful that these trees that we plant now in Kenya will be able to thrive, and at the end of the year, we will be able to show results. After that, we will continue to monitor and work with the communities in sustaining this action. So briefly, that is our timeline. Let's go to the next slide. This is one of the snapshots of the Soroptimist of Nairobi Central Club initial work that they have had to do in the fields where we are greening, going to be able to prepare the land, to till, and also to be able to work with the communities to start planting the trees. The institutions ensure that the security of the trees are going to be cared for, and that we are not worried that once we plant massively, then the trees will be destroyed by the March rains. So we already are putting in place mechanisms to secure the trees once they are planted. Next slide. Next slide. This is the launch of the planting season that was conducted a week ago. Sorry, I should be on slide mode. which was conducted a week ago, and we were very honored to have senior government officials come to plant the trees with us. And we had the representative of this principal secretary of the State Department of Children's Welfare Services, and we planted over 3,000 trees on the Saturday of the 24th of May. At this campaign, we would want to see that 100,000 trees are planted in Kenya, and the other 400,000 trees will be planted in the 4 regions of Africa. But this is just the number that we are starting with, and we are hopeful that, for example, in Kenya, the government of Kenya has got a target to have 15 million trees planted in the next 10 years, so that our country tree cover can increase. And so we really want to see that the number is not the issue, that we will have as many families and communities greening their horizons. We could go to the next slide, please. This is the impact that we are looking at, that at the end of all this, in having these 500,000 trees cover in Africa, with 100,000 of the trees planted in Kenya, women and girls who are with the local groups are going to be able to have their economic empowerment. They will be able to have security, to have food, and they will be able to have nutrition, improve their nutrition, because they will have access to garden vegetables and that they can use and they can sell thereafter. Children and youth are our leaders of today and tomorrow, and working with them to improve air quality and green spaces, we are looking at them getting the environmental education as part of their day-to-day guidance, and that they will be able to disseminate this from schools, from institutions, back to their families where they come from. We are not only looking at their health today, but their health tomorrow, because we know that our future generations will reap the results of what we do today. And finally, we know there shall be healthier communities, healthier people, because the planet will be healthy as well. Our third impact is that we want to really raise and grow environmental conservation advocates. Our partners at the individual level, the organizations, our institutions are all saying that we are all saying that everyone should be engaged in saving Mother Earth. The action that we do today cures Mother Earth for what injury was done yesterday, hence securing Mother Earth for tomorrow, for generations to come. And finally, we are very keen to influence local policy. We want policymakers and government agencies, private sector, to be at the forefront to support the efforts of the women and the youth groups that are doing the greening our horizons. Instead of only having the Soroptimist leading the way, already we say greening our horizon, schools leading the way, Soroptimists leading the way, governments leading the way, young people leading the way. So it's really a call to action to influence and make as many advocates to save Mother Earth as we can. On my final slide, which is the next slide, just before this, we have opportunities and benefits with our collaborators and the institutions that join us in this campaign. We do give them opportunities, for example, to have their corporate social responsibility visibility when they come to give us tree seedlings, or even sponsorship to the trainings or to the farming inputs for the women groups that we work with. So we are really calling everybody to come on board and support and be with the greening of our horizon, so that the greening of our horizons can become a strong movement, and that it is sustainable at the end of the club's implementation time. Finally, on the last slide, our call to action is that we want to call on everybody, particularly today, which is the World Environment Day. Beating plastic pollution means that we have to have clean air. So growing of trees and greening our horizons matches very well with the sub-theme of plant a tree, grow a forest, and hence have clean air for everybody. We are also calling on action that let us promote household food security through the growing of fruit trees so that they can feed their families, or we can support them with our seedlings or our education so that they see the need to be able to do this. We again call on both our social and traditional media houses and platforms to really make this campaign of greening our horizons, saving Mother Earth their topic so that it can really flood our platforms. We want you to join. We want to call upon everybody to join us so that we can have an increased tree cover not only in Kenya but in all the African countries. We know that climate change and the impact that it has had on women and girls, like the previous speakers have said, has really affected the lives of women and girls and the poor communities of the vulnerable households that have got very little that they can do, yet they are affected by the climate change. So finally, I would want to say that this seminar is quite a good webinar in that we are hearing about water, we are hearing about gender, we are hearing about plastic pollution, and we are planting trees and having solutions, especially having women leading the way. Lee, thank you very much for this opportunity for us to share the action in Kenya and from Africa on greening our horizon, Soroptimist leading the way. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome, Mary, and thank you very much. It was a wonderful presentation. This project's so very impressive to green our horizons and see Soroptimists taking the lead within their communities. To see everyone collaborating and working towards achieving results is commendable and with multiple outcomes. Thank you very much, Mary. And last but not least is Linda. I'd like to introduce Linda Watong, please, with innovations.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I noted that a couple of people have already left, but that's why God created presentations and PowerPoints. I would like to start with, in terms of innovations and solutions and hope. With legislation, folks, you should know that in December 2015, for example, President Obama signed the Microbead-Free Water Act of 2015, which bans plastic microbeads in cosmetic and personal area products. There's far more legislation on plastics and on water scarcity and pollution, which would probably take a whole hour in and of itself. But that's just one example. Another example, and I want SI to know about this, is we have focused in on the danger of plastics and water scarcity and pollution for years, and plastic bead pollution for years now, and we have followed the increased focus about this topic from the World Economic Forum global risk reports. Why am I mentioning global risk reports? If you want to argue to your constituency, if you want to argue to your people, you want to look up at the global risk reports and what it's been saying about water pollution, water scarcity, and also plastic microbeads for a number of years now, because they are qualifying them as some of the most severe dangers that our world faces now in the present. And I can think of many other powerful precedents that you could cite, but I think the World Economic Forum Global Risk Report is something that you should definitely focus in on. If you want citations for some of this, I'll cheerfully provide them. Next slide, please. Maybe. Oh, there you go. A growing water crisis driven by population growth, climate change, and pollution has spurred a wave of technology and political or policy innovations. These solutions target both water scarcity and water pollution and have produced several promising technologies that could really significantly improve global water access. Here are only some of the key developments that have been explored, including into 2025. Next slide, please. MIT, and we're going to go into advanced desalination techniques because, number one, they're producing clean and clear water and safe water, but they're also in many cases making it much cheaper to process and much easier. MIT, that's a university in the United States that deals with technical geniuses, has built a solar-powered desalination system that produces large quantities of clean water. Despite variations in sunlight, which is one of the issues that happened before throughout the day, because it requires no extra batteries, it also offers a more affordable way to produce drinking water compared to other solar-driven designs. This breakthrough addresses one of the major cost barriers to solar desalination systems. We also have researchers who have successfully filtered salt from water for the first time using Florentine-based nanostructures. They're more effective than conventional desalination technologies because they operate quicker, use less pressure, are a more effective filter, and use less energy. This reportedly purifies salt water over 1,000 times faster, 1,000 times faster than standard industrial equipment. Next slide, please. The plants are also replacing expensive chemicals, which have a problem in their own right, with new carbon cloth electrodes, and that removes boron from seawater. What is boron? Well, it's an important step in turning seawater into safe drinking water if you remove boron. The University of Michigan is using also redox flow desalination technology, which can produce both drinking water and store energy, and this is a two-for benefit, potentially making the process more economically viable. Wave-powered desalination ONECA. That's a wave-powered desalination technology is another innovation. Floating buoys tethered to the ocean floor use wave power to drive a pump that forces seawater through filters, reverse osmosis membranes, and this harnesses natural ocean energy without requiring external power sources. Next slide, please. There's also portable devices like desalinator use solar energy to produce clean water, making them suitable for remote or off-grid communities because the scientific world is not ignorant of the tremendous need on remote or off-grid communities to have clean water. Atmospheric water generation is something that's been around for a while. That extracts moisture from the air. It condenses into potable water. And the recent models are more energy efficient and can operate even in low humidity conditions, making them practical for arid regions and disaster relief. Some of them are even powered by renewable energy, reducing the environmental impact. Hydrogen fuel cells are generating not only electricity, but they're producing purified water as a byproduct, offering a dual solution for power and water needs, and again, remote or emergency situations. Next slide, please. How are universities addressing water? Well, we've talked about MIT and University of Michigan. University of Southampton, because I want to keep this in global application, is leading projects to create low-cost, real-time sensors for monitoring multiple nutrients in fresh water, as well as next-generation samplers for detecting contaminants like pharmaceuticals and pesticides. Always a good thing to exclude them from water. These technologies aim to make water quality monitoring more affordable, reliable, comprehensive, and directly address pollution in rivers, lakes, and reservoirs. Next slide, please. University of Texas in Austin are developing a nature-inspired electrochemical technology that dramatically increases the efficiency of speed of water for purification. It removes up to 99% of mercury from contaminated water in just 20 minutes and offers a scalable low-cost solution for water treatment. The campus water reclamation and conservation in that university is also constructing what they have called the UT Water Hub, which is a large on-site wastewater reclamation and reuse facility. This treats up to 1 million gallons of wastewater per day. That's 1 million gallons. It reduces campus potable water use by 40% and sewer capacity by 70%. It uses natural processes like plant filtration, reduces chemical and energy use, and serves as a living laboratory for research and education. Next slide, please. University of Chicago, Bev, your hometown, involves students and staff in benchmarking water use, developing conservation strategies, and recommending reduction goals, leading to both technology improvements and water conservation through behavior change, which is always a big aspect in improving this situation. The University of Surrey is running projects that combine technology and behavioral science to reduce domestic water consumption. By working with industry and government, great stakeholders to have as our partners, they develop initiatives such as in-shower technology that help households save water without compromising user experience. I haven't experienced the in-shower technology, but it looks promising. Next slide, please. Community partnerships. Georgia Southern University has facilitated partnerships between researchers and local communities to monitor water quality. It takes a village, it takes a local community, especially in areas affected by pollution and environmental injustice. Their Safe Water Ambassador Group, otherwise known as SWAG, collects and communicates water quality data, empowering residents to advocate for safer conditions and better policies. There's also education, which we Soroptimists have as gospel. You must always have education, you must always have outreach and workforce developments. Many universities, including those University of California and California State University systems, offer specialized programs in water resources, hydrology, water management, and water engineering, from certificates for a normal citizen to PhD levels. Next slide, please. UC Irvine's Water UCI conducts outreach programs where university students teach water sustainability topics to K-12 students and help them develop innovative water solutions. They also host curricula, internships, and workforce development programs to build expertise in water science and policy among their students. Excellent program. The University of Southampton, let's hear it for Southampton, is leading projects to create low-cost, real-time sensors for monitoring multiple nutrients in fresh water, much like another university, as well as next-generation samplers for detecting the pharmaceuticals and pesticides, as the next other university is also doing. These technologies are also aiming to make water quality monitoring more affordable, reliable, comprehensive, directly addressing, as the other university did, rivers, lakes, and reservoirs. Next slide, please. I thank you for your time. I've tried to keep to the 7 minutes so that there could be questions offered, if any are there. If you want any more of my outlines or citations about any of this, I'd be pleased to give them to Soroptimists, and they can cheerfully provide it to you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Linda. And I thank you for your technological and policy innovations. These give us hope for water biosecurity into the future. And it is so good to see universities and community groups working towards this means. Thank you so much. I'd just like to change slightly, because it's so over time, call on President Soo-Yong to have the last say and a quick call to action. Thank you.
Oh, wow. So much to absorb. And I'm just going to give a very brief summary of what I personally absorbed. Please forgive me if I didn't probably pick up the major issues. I hope so. It is a wonderful journey that we have just made, from Mozambique to Cameroon, Nairobi to northern Brazil, and throughout our global Soroptimist network. We have come to understand that water is not only a vital lifeline, but its scarcity and our deep dependence on it underscore the urgency of the issue. From clean water advocacy to environmental restoration, from legal accountability to grassroots empowerment, each speaker today has shown us that developing water solutions within the world suffering from the impact of climate change is not only urgent, it is paramount, as Dawn Fleming so powerfully reminded us. The president of Water for Women for Water Partnership, Diana Iskreva, highlighted the important role women played in managing water and how the Women for Water Partnership united many women's groups worldwide to lead change. She reminded us that women and girls often carry the heavy burden of fetching and managing water, which affects their health, education, and work opportunities. Yet, Despite their knowledge and capabilities, women remain underrepresented in water-related decision-making. She called for recognizing women as leaders and ensuring their full participation to achieve safe, sustainable water for all. Sandra Hans. Today, Sandra powerfully reminded us that plastic pollution is not just an environmental issue. It is a health crisis, a women's issue, and a global justice emergency. She connected how women carry the burden of water insecurity and toxic plastic exposure, yet are also leading the solution. Her message is clear: to protect the planet, we must elevate women, eliminate plastic, and restore water. Thank you, Sandra, for this urgent and inspiring call to action. Your voice is a spark for transformation our world so desperately needs. Dr. Ngozi Loretta then turned our attention to the urgent and deeply unequal water crisis facing millions of women and girls across Africa, daily walking miles to access water, risking their health due to contaminated water supplies and poor sanitation. She draws attention to deadly chemical and biological pollutants and their impact on health of communities, especially women and children. Her call to action emphasized scalable, long-term technological solutions, policy reform, and strategic partnerships aligned with SDGs to make clean water a universal right, not a privilege. We next have Lydia Bernard-Jones, our young hope for the future, who brought us stories of transformation from schools in Kenya, Nigeria, and Uganda. Through simple yet strategic interventions such as chlorine-treated tanks and community ownership, Impact Water turned unsafe schools into safe havens. Girls returned to class, illnesses decreased, and local community ownership grew. Lydia's message was powerful. Small, accessible innovations can lead to lasting systemic change, especially when children and communities are placed at the heart of the solution. Then we have Dawn Fleming of Waterlusion, who began with the clear goals to empower adolescent girls and women in water and sanitation challenges. She explained how building leadership and technical skills supported girls in Mozambique and women in Brazil to take part in decisions about water and sanitation in their communities. Dawn emphasized that this community-led gender-focused approach not only improved water access, but also boosted confidence, education, and long-term health. Bev discussed the, Bev's story was very interesting, such an amazing story about Mumsy. She mentioned about the partnership between Mumsy Child Relief Foundation and two Soroptimist clubs to educate, empower, and enable women and girls by providing them with education opportunities, sanitary products, clean water, and sanitation facilities so that they can remain in school. The project aim is to stop child marriage and develop women to be leaders in their own communities. We have SIAF, that is our SI African Federation President, Mary Moy, who spoke about greening our horizons, a bold, women-led, large-scale environmental restorative initiative of our times, gaining traction in Kenya. This project, supported by funding from Soroptimist International Foundation, is set to combat deforestation, biodiversity loss, soil erosion, air pollution, and empower women and girls through training, promoting sustainable agriculture, and influencing environmental policies. The objective to grow 500,000 trees, hopefully much more than that, in the 5 regions of SIAF by 2027 is the greatest commitment and undertaking by any volunteer women's service organization like SI. This campaign calls for worldwide support, world-spread support to plant trees, raise awareness, and protect the planet for future generations. Linda Witong gave us hope by examples of all the efforts by groups spanning from world-famous universities to local communities that the world will have. She is certain. I am very, very happy it will happen. To have sufficient clean and safe water for its survival. She also shared the great progress being made in solving problems such as water scarcity and pollution, and how new ideas and technologies, including improved ways to clean salt water and collect water from the air, have helped people access clean water more easily. These are the solutions that she brought up. So, but I would also like to please take one more minute maybe of your time to have this opportunity to also invite you to listen to my SI Voices podcast episode now available on the SI website. It is a reflection of my experiences with Mother Earth and why this mission matters. To mark my team, SI is creating a short compilation film highlighting our global environmental efforts. My thanks to SI Europe President Havdis Karlsdottir for graciously agreeing to showcase it at the Congress in Krakow on International Day of Climate Action on the 24th of October. But what a coincidence. So you can find all the details about the project and how to get involved on the SI website. I encourage you to submit your work, the club's work and the union's work on the topic of climate and all for inclusion in this video. So my ask today is simple and heartfelt. We must go beyond facts and hear the lived experiences of women and girls walking miles for water, missing schools for lack of sanitation, and bearing the brunt of climate change. Perhaps we didn't experience that, but many, many women out there, they really do, and girls especially. So empowerment starts with clean water, safe schools, and basic dignity. Real change means supporting sustainable practices, lifting grassroots voices, and pushing for fair, inclusive policies. Every step we take, however small, moves us towards a more just, resilient, and compassionate world. In conclusion, my heartfelt thanks to all of you speakers for your invaluable insights shared with passion and commitment. A special thank you and my deepest appreciation to Beth Bucher and Lee Elwood Brown for making this seminar happen. Thank you so much, ladies. As we close, let us plant the seeds, grow the roots, and sprout the shoots. The seeds we sow today through advocacy, education, and action will take root in the communities we serve, growing stronger with every voice raised and every challenge met. From these roots, new life and hope will rise, shaping a future where Mother Earth can truly thrive. The clock is ticking. This is our moment to nurture that future. Thank you so very, very, very much for your participation, for your speech, for your interest in joining us. Thank you so much. Happy World Environment Day. Are we still past no, not yet, 12 o'clock. In my time, probably you past midnight. Thank you so
Yes.
much. And Julie, your turn.
Thank you very much, Soo Young. Thank you to everybody for attending. And what about the passion in every one of our speakers? I know they all went over, but to stop them, every one of them wants to solve the issue for women and girls around the world. It has come through so beautifully. Thank you. Now, there were no questions that I saw in the chat box, but does anyone want to ask questions? You're very welcome to, if you put up your electronic hand, so I can see you come to the fore.
Or send questions, Lee, if they're on their way out, if there's a way that they can send a question to.
Yes, so maybe I'll put my my address actually in the chat box.
Yeah, I think so.
And I can get the question to any of the speakers that you would like.
There is somebody with the hands up. Estaritira?
Hello, Estatira. Yes, my quick question is, are all these cases highlighted on SI website? Because I would like to use some of them in my work offline. And for two of the projects, I would like to start a collaboration on probably engaging in a research project. That's what I would like to ask.
Okay. This will be on our YouTube station. Joe, would you like to mention maybe in about a week, do you think?
What was that? Sorry, Lee.
Sorry, the YouTube. So this presentation will be up on the YouTube.
I think we're going to try and get it out quite soon, actually, because it's I think it's International Oceans Day on Sunday. So
Okay.
I'm going to try and aim
Sorry.
to get it out then. Thought it would be a nice, appropriate date to share it.
Lee, my question was
Wonderful.
this YouTube. My question was all the cases that were mentioned, for example, Mumsy, all of that, every single story that was shared today, are they highlighted on SI website? That was the
No.
question.
No, sorry, no, they aren't up there. That's their presentations for this webinar. So the next step from here would be to have the whole webinar up on our YouTube station. So if you wish, I've got my email address, leahwoodbrown@soroptimistinternational.org in the chat box. So if you wanted anything specific, I can put you in touch with the appropriate person if you can let me know exactly what you're after. Thank you. Any other questions? No? I'd like to thank Joe, Hannah, Deborah, everyone. Joe, thank you very, very much for everything. Joe has put the presentation, the overall presentation together for us and handled all the technical issues for the evening. So very, very good to have the background support. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
If anyone wants any general discussion or you want to go, everyone's at different times of the day, in the morning, waiting for morning coffee. I'm almost there.
Sleep.
I've
You-
almost
you.
come all the way around. It's 1:15 a.m. for me. So
Sorry, Lee, if I may ask one more question, sorry, because I'm not sure, you know, if it is there or not. Is there any work that Soroptimist has done in terms of Indigenous people access to water? And I apologize because I didn't have the chance to look.
Yes.
Is there any work that Soroptimist has done? And I would imagine that's in Australia. Is that in Australia? Anyone can help?
I'm just a moment. Linda, you
Yeah.
wanted to?
I'll start. There's a number of us that have done research. I did research when environment and the climate crisis was an issue in New York and CSW. Through a CSI, did thousands of pages of research, including on how water, among other environmental issues, dealt with both Indigenous, rural, remote women. So if you needed research along that line, I'm sure SI would be happy to grant it to you. I think CSW New York has that in a library too, their library. But I know there's other people here who've done research too, if they're still present in the meeting.
In Australia, I'm not aware of those specifically with Indigenous.
Yes, yes.
We have had a number of towns that have run out of water. Specifically in the last couple of years, some towns completely have run out of water. They're not Indigenous towns, but there are Indigenous living within all of our towns. And they're small towns, but they've completely run out of water. So they were literally shipping water in for the locals to have to drink, do everything with water. So that's been happening in our country now for a number of years.
And South Australia is having the dust storm at the moment.
Sorry, Danelle?
In South Africa, in the past 3 years, they were running out of water very badly.
South Australia at the moment is having dust storms because there has been no water.
Yes.
and none no surface water. But the other side of Australia is flooded. So, and we do have Indigenous. It's actually in our database how many Indigenous projects that we do. So we can look them up for that lady who's asking.
But that's in our Southeast Asia Pacific database. So if you go through me, I can get you back in touch with what specifically you're
That would be
after.
amazing. I would love to do a project on that because, as I put in the chat, the access to water for Indigenous communities here in Canada is a huge problem and is still ongoing. So I would like to have a look at it at a global stage from a research perspective. So I appreciate you putting me through and get me connected to anyone who's doing work in this area.
Okay, thank you. Pascal?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi. I just wanted to say, I'm sure your previous speaker already knows, but Janet Chemph is doing a lot of work on Indigenous rights. But I guess given that you're both in the same area, you might know that already.
We did a number of presentations in CSW this year, which was quite amazing. And that was Pascal and Janet and Su Yong and myself and all the other Soroptimists here, that we were all part of that. Any other questions? No one wants to go home. You want to stick to it? I think I'll be saying good night very soon, I think.
Yep.